Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the BA MPP information session. I want to briefly mention as a disclaimer, this info session will be recorded. So while we encourage you to turn on your cameras if you like, and you will have a chance to unmute yourself to ask questions after the presentation, we just ask that you do not share any personally identifiable information. So if you'd like to stay anonymous, that's totally fine, but please do not share anything like your PIDs or your UCSD emails. If you cannot stay for the entire duration of this info session, or if you have friends who are not able to attend today, please email gps-ugprograms@ucsd.edu. I will add that in that chat, and we can send you the recording later on. So without further ado, let's get started. So some brief introductions. My name is Julia Ng, and I am the primary advisor for the joint degree programs at GPS. So I oversee those who are interested in applying for the BA MPP program, as well as helping guide you once you're accepted into the program to help you with your graduate requirements. I'm also joined by Dr. Nancy Gilson, who is the Director of Degree Programs at GPS and ISP. And we have, I believe, only one right now, econ advisor, who is with us today, Ann Wu, who you might already know. Kenny might be joining us a little bit later, and Jenna is not going to be able to make it today. So if you would like to introduce yourselves, I will pass it off to them.
So hi, my name's Anne. I'm one of the undergrad econ advisors here. And if you'd like to make an appointment with any one of us, please reach out through VAC. I know Kenny's going to be here. It's just that he's having trouble logging in. He just chatted me right now, but both my colleagues have experience with advising, and we're happy to help you with anything that you might need.
Hi, I'm Nancy Gilson. I'm the Director of Academic Programs for both the graduate school, the School of Global Policy and Strategy, but also for the undergraduate program, International Studies. And I worked with the GPS faculty and the econ faculty to develop this program. So the curriculum is quite familiar to me, and the application requirements. And so, as Julia said, if you have questions, we'd be happy to meet with you. Just send us an email with availability, and we'll make an appointment to talk to you directly.
Awesome, thank you. So as you all might know, this program is specifically for economics students. So the majority of the questions that you may have to deal with your economics undergraduate requirements, you should be referring to your econ advisors, so Anne, Kenny, and Jenna. So if you have any questions throughout the presentation about the program, feel free to type them in the chat. Dr. Gilson will be running the chat, and so she'll be able to answer those. If your question is not answered right away, it might mean that we'll address it at some point during the presentation. And then we'll also have some time at the end for you to unmute yourselves. So we want to make sure that you get all of the answers to the questions that you have, so that you have all of the information you need to feel comfortable and move on to the next stage of talking to one of us about the program and how you'll fit into the program when you apply. So what is the BA MPP program? The BA MPP was really fashioned on the longer and successful BA MIA program, which started as a joint program between the School of Global Policy and Strategy and the International Studies program. That program was a consequence of the synergy between the International Affairs curriculum and International Studies undergrad curriculum. So then GPS created its 2-year Masters of Public Policy that is really founded and grounded in the skills and the knowledge base of economics. So the BA MPP program really does build on your economics core sequences. So that's why you have to do the micro, the macro, and the econometric sequences prior to coming into the MPP program. And one of the things that GPS does then is takes those hard skills that you've already learned as an undergrad, and they show you what it looks like to use them in a real world situation to design and evaluate policy. So because GPS is a School of International Affairs, one of the things that's different about our public policy program is that it allows you to study public policy around the world while also including the United States. So we've added a lot of coursework and curricular foci on policy in the United States. For example, we have a faculty member who teaches courses on education that looks both at the US but also at Latin America. So it's really developing a deeper policy expertise on either individual country or in comparative with other countries. So the BA MPP is only open to the standard economics major, so major code EN25. So not if you're a math econ major or management science, I believe is the other one. So this is for the straight economics major code if you're at EN25. So at the end of your senior year, you'll be graduating with your Bachelor's of Economics in Public Policy, and then with one additional year, you will then earn your Master's in Public Policy. So that's what the BA MPP program is. And so here is a graphic to help visualize the way that the BA MPP joint degree program works. Most of you will be looking to apply in the spring of your junior year. Applications are typically due in April, and then you'll hear back from admissions sometime in May. And then as you can see here in the shaded light and dark blue year of your senior year, that fourth year as a freshman or that second year if you're a transfer, and you'll begin your graduate work in that senior year. So you're beginning the master's program by taking the GPS core while also finishing the requirements for both your undergraduate major as well. So you're working on both at the same time in that last year. So you're still an undergraduate in your first year of the program. And once you complete that first year, you'll matriculate into graduate standing and you'll complete your master's program in that one additional year. So the thing to understand about this is that it is the same exact curriculum of the 2 years master's program. So you're earning the master's in public policy that others are doing in that 2-year program with only one additional year to your undergrad. So you'll be doing classes with other people who are applying and coming in after having been out of college for a while, or they haven't come to UCSD to do economics. They were away and were working and they're coming back to school. So this graphic really shows that you're really only adding one additional year to your traditional timeline. And so part of what we will be doing and advising when you come see one of us is that we'll be checking your econ requirements and making sure that you can in fact finish your undergraduate degree while being able to do the full core classes of the master's degree in that first year. So this is the program overview, and this is to help give you all the requirements for economics and for GPS. So this doesn't include your GEs, any minor requirements you may have, or your university requirements. This is just to give you some idea of what the requirements are in a broad sense. So we'll talk about them in a little bit more detail in a minute, but to start off, you have your lower division requirements in the department. You have to do this calculus sequence. You have to do the lower division economics courses that serve as your prerequisites for the upper division sequences. So this shouldn't be as a surprise to you. And then you'll have to do the micro, macro, and econometric series for your upper division. And then you have 2 advanced electives in economics. So if you see here, if you were looking at the regular requirements for the econ major, I believe it's 5 electives. You'd have to do 5 economics electives where 2 of them are advanced. So for the BA MPP, you only have to do those 2 advanced electives. And the reason for that is because you're going to be doing the graduate level courses in your senior year. So we've cut the number of advanced electives in the economics department, but then added on the GPS MPP core classes, some of which are economics based. So in that fact, you're just doing as much economics as you would normally be doing, but maybe more than your colleagues who are staying in the standard economics major. So in your one graduate year after you've graduated with your bachelor's degree, you have 48 units which you have to complete. So for that, you have a policy area of specialization. That is 5 courses. You have to do a public policy capstone, which you can choose from either a capstone on energy analysis or one that's more methodology. And so you will choose these capstones driven by what your interests are in certain kinds of social policy. And then you'll have some sort of associated prerequisites or electives. So some of your colleagues who are already in the program will be taking GIS because they've decided that they wanted to add to their methodological toolkit, and will have an entire sequence built on GIS. And we have at GPS an entire sequence built on GIS and remote sensing, so that you can use that in various kinds of policy areas. So this is kind of the broad overview of what you'll be doing moving forward from the foundational courses to the hard skill courses, and then taking courses where you're doing economic policy application in cities or at the national level. For example, if you're comparing national or city policies, you'll have the opportunity to then do a fairly deep dive research project in your capstone, which you'd be doing in your second year. So lower division requirements. Like I said earlier, these shouldn't come as a surprise to you. Doing either the 10 or 20 sequence for math is the requirement, as well as the Econ 1 and Econ 3. These are the basic prerequisites for most of the upper division economics courses, and I'm sure many of you have already made your way doing some, if not all of it already. And then here are the upper division requirements. Again, the Econ 100, 110, and 120 sequence feeds directly into what the focus of GPS is. We have a number of faculty who have split appointments between GPS and the economics department, so they recognize that it was very important for all of the BA MPP students to come with this strong foundation in their economic skills. And as I said earlier, then you have 2 other advanced electives in economics. So your advanced electives is from a department list. So you need to talk to your econ advisors and understand what those courses are if you have any questions about those. And then this is the GPS core that you'll be taking in your senior year, along with whatever undergraduate courses you still have remaining to earn your bachelor's degree. So in the fall, you'll take policy analysis and public welfare. As the title suggests, this is a policy analysis class. So you'll be thinking about how policy is designed, what are the necessary analytic skills for thinking about how policy gets funded, what's the goal of public policy, how is public policy different from other kinds of policy, and what's the level of focus of public policy and stuff like that. And then in the winter, you'll be taking policymaking processes. This is more of a political science class, and the assumption of what we call PMP is that the institutions and the organization in different states of how politics is done matters to policy outcomes. So if you're, for example, a 2-party country in the United States versus a multi-party or representative democracy like you have in Europe, you get very different debates and outcomes. So if you think, for example, why does England have national health insurance, but the United States doesn't? Part of the answer to that might be is that there are more people on the left in England, but the better answer is that politics is organized differently, so that you get different representation of the interests in government. So then you get different policy outcomes. So also you take market failures and policy interventions, which right now it is being taught by Julie Cullen, who is also the chair of the economics department. And this is a class that runs contrary to the tradition of economics. It begins with the admission of the outset that markets do indeed fail. Contrary to the conservative or traditional notion that markets are providers of good, they're buyers and sellers, they're providers. This assumes that markets fail and not everyone has the same level of education across neighborhoods. Not everybody has health insurance. Not everybody's able to afford a house. Not everybody lives where there's environmental protection for both poor as well as wealthy communities. So markets don't always provide equivalent goods or even all goods to people, but then you learn in this class of how to explain that, and then how do you make decisions of what kind of policies you're going to take on for your political goals. So in the spring, you have 2 more core classes, public finance and taxation, which is also taught by economics professor Alex Gelber. And once, going back to the previous example that I had, once you decide that you want to have national health care, how are you going to pay for it? You can't just print more money. It has to come from somewhere. How do you pay for the things that you want? What are the trade-offs? And then you'll have policy analysis and decision theory. This is really a conceptual or theoretical class taught by a professor who has a joint appointment between GPS and the Scripps Institution that looks at how do governments or agencies decide on which policies that go into play. In other words, what's the decision-making matrix that they apply and how do you analyze the outcomes of policy? So MPPs take all of these courses. These are a foundation of the MPP program. So you'll be coming in and taking these courses with the MPP graduate students, but you will be taking them as seniors as an undergraduate. Okay, then you also have to have an area of specialization. It is a policy program and you can't just be a generalist in public policy. I'm sure you all have an interest in one particular area if you're coming into this program. Again, it is possible to do policy at GPS and have it be on the United States or have it be on the country outside of the United States or be comparative between the two, but these are the areas that are within our expertise. We have American and comparative business regulation, where you can think about the debates of regulating social media. You have environmental policy, health policy, inequality and social policy. We have peace and security, where this understands security broadly to be everything from civil wars to border issues to food security, in some cases climate issues. And then lastly, we have program design and evaluation, which focuses on the hard skills of evaluation, where you'll be learning quantitative methods, GIS. You'll be using the use of coding languages like R and Python in developing evaluation mechanisms to look at policy. And so the area of specialization is a 5-course requirement. Most students find it possible to do one of these courses in their senior year, but you have plenty of time to do these once you graduate and you'll be in your second year as a graduate student. So there are 2 required courses, and then you'll choose 3 electives. So for example, if you choose to do program design and evaluation, or PD&E, you would have to take QM3, which is in the spring quarter, in addition to your econometrics. That's the first course that you all would take at GPS that builds on your 2 quarters of econometrics. So then you would choose either evaluating social programs, which looks at how to do survey data, or GIS. So it allows you within that regional specialization to go in very different directions in how you're thinking about policy methodology. And then you'll have those 3 electives so you can really build on your hard skill expertise in that area that you're trying to go in. So it's possible to complete more than one of these areas of specializations. We do have a lot of students who do PD&E along with environmental policy, since those two go pretty hand in hand with each other. Or we have some students who also do PD&E and inequality and social policy. So it's a big opportunity for y'all to build a deep dive and deep expertise in the social policy that you want to get to know more. So language courses. The MPP program does not have a language requirement. For our Master of International Affairs, they do, but it is not a requirement for the MPP program. However, if you want to be taking a language in your graduate year, we do allow you to do so. So if, say, you want to work abroad and you want to take 3/4 of a language because you think it'll benefit you in that job, or in order to make yourself look a little bit more valuable as a candidate, we do allow you to take a language as long as it matches the coursework on the country focus in the Asia Pacific region. So GPS, we are Asia Pacific focused. So for example, if you take Japanese or Chinese because you want to take, or you want to do environmental policy on China, we'd let you take 3/4 of Chinese. And then on top of that, you'd have to take 2 courses on China that sort of build that expertise on that area. So if you take language classes at the graduate level, you must take them for a letter grade. And if you want to take them at GPS, you'll have to get permission via our petition process, because we want to be sure that you're going to be using your language towards that expertise and not just counting units for fun. And so here are our languages. I'm not going to read them all. You guys can kind of view them on your own. These are our standard or more traditional languages that we accept for GPS. Again, is not a requirement for you as an MPP student or a BA MPP student. But we know that some students come into this program and want to do a language because you think it'll add more to your skill set. And so we do allow you to take a language if you'd like to. And so this graph gives you an idea of what a 5-year plan would look like if you entered UCSD as a freshman. If you're a transfer student, just wait a couple minutes. We have one next for you to look at as well. But this shows you that the program is doable in 5 years. These are the econ and GPS requirements all on this page. So as a reminder, you'd have to add in any GE requirements or college requirements, or GE or UC requirements, sorry. But this shows you how the coursework goes together and includes taking QM3 in the spring of your senior year, all the core classes. But really this just shows you that it is possible to do all of this and graduate with your bachelor's degree on time, and then begin the graduate program as an undergraduate and matriculate with only 1 extra year to get your master's degree. And so if you came in as a transfer student, this graph for you does assume that you have done the math sequence and the lower division economics courses at your community college. If that's not the case, it is still doable to work within this 3-year plan, but we're going to have to do a little bit more one-on-one work with you. So we do have a lot of transfer students in all of our joint degree programs, and it is doable. It does just take a little bit more planning if you come into this program without having those prerequisites done. And so we've had some students who've only taken some of the math and maybe only one of the econ courses, or both of the econ courses and no math. So we definitely work with you on how to get all of that done if need be. But again, it is doable for transfer students, and we will work with you to make sure that everything gets done on time. So at GPS, we also have these certificate programs, which we like to think of decorations that you can put on your resume, or it's like tying all of the coursework you do and putting a bow on it. These allow you to have bragging rights, if you will, to show that you've taken these set of courses that our faculty think are essential to being able to say that you're a specialist in energy analytics or spatial analysis methodologies. The coursework for these are courses that you'll almost certainly take to fulfill your requirements at GPS. So these are not courses in addition to your requirements. The courses you would take for these, with these certificate programs, this is the only way you would be able to count your coursework. You can count your coursework for more than one area. So if you do 2 specializations, you can't overlap those, you can't double count coursework, but if you were doing a certificate program, this is the only time where it's doable. So these certificates allow you to put it on your resumes rather than just listing all of the courses that you've taken at GPS, and explaining that you are indeed an expert in spatial analysis. You can put the certificate on there so your employer knows that you have a particular expertise in energy analytics. So as undergraduates, particularly, you have more on your resume when you go out to look for a job with one of these certificate programs that we have at GPS. And so application information. So the BA MPP program application deadline is April of every year. We're already beginning to work with students who are interested in applying this year. Like I said, you'll be applying in spring 2023, and the applications tend to open up early in winter quarter. So for those, you would need to go to the UCSD graduate application site. This is different from the traditional UC undergraduate application site. So it's connect.grad.ucsd.edu. And through this graduate application portal, it's going to ask you what program you're applying to, and you'll need to make sure that you're applying to the correct program because all of the graduate programs are on this platform. So you want to make sure that you are choosing GP 76 for public policy, which is the degree program in which you will be in your graduate year. So not your undergraduate year, for your graduate year. So if you're applying this upcoming spring, you're going to look for GP 76. And then so the application will also ask you for which quarter you're applying. Logically, it makes sense that you'd be applying for fall 2023 because that's when you'll start doing the graduate level coursework. But you're actually not going to be a graduate student until fall of 2024. So you'll be applying for fall 2024 since that is the first year that you'll be a graduate student on paper. So this is the graduate application portal, and next fall, even though you're going to be doing graduate level work, you're still an undergraduate standing. And so for the application year, you're putting fall 2024, which is the year after you finish your bachelor's degree. Let me know if anyone has any questions about that. Every year we've had to correct a bunch of applications on this, so we will continue to reiterate this fact, but hopefully once you look at the application, since it's a grad application, you'll think, okay, I'm applying for my graduate year, and that's for fall 2024. Okay. And so the requirements for the application are a statement of purpose. This statement of purpose is really just a discussion of your professional objectives. We like to use the explanation of that it's an intellectual biography. So when did you become interested in the things that you're interested in public policy? How has that been developed in your time at UCSD through your internships, jobs, extracurriculars, any travel that you've done? What do you want to do with public policy or this degree? And what do you think GPS has to add to those set of skills and interests that you have on your own? And what do you want to do when you graduate? So it's a different kind of personal statement than when you wrote to get into UCSD. It is a lot more about what got you interested in the things that you're interested in, and in a sense, what do you want to be when you grow up? And what do you want to do with public policy once you graduate? And so along with that, there is a optional supplemental essay. It's more of a set of questions rather than an essay per se, directed towards specific topics. So It is optional, you don't have to answer them, but there may be some things that you want to tell us that don't fit in your required personal statement. And so, for example, if you failed a class or you got what you thought was a bad grade and you want to explain why you got that C, D, or F, this essay does provide you that opportunity to say, I had family issues at that time, I was having a housing crisis, maybe I crashed my car that day and I wasn't able to take the final. So in other words, it's something that you get to say and explain to us, because we'll see everything that's on your transcripts and whatnot. So that gives you that opportunity to explain to us what happened. And then we require a resume. We know that most of you don't have a long work history, so we know that your resume is not going to be extensively long, but we do want to see what other things you have to show for. So any internships, jobs that you might have had, community services that you have done before, other skills, like if you are competent in any computer languages like C++, Python, whatnot, any languages you may speak, any travel that you have done, and just any other ongoing activities that you like to present as your own identity. So it gives us a full picture of who you really are. And then we do require transcripts. This is your academic history from UCSD. For those of you who are transfer students, as long as all of your transfer coursework is shown on your UCSD academic history, you do not have to have your transcript from your community college or the other four-year university where you previously were before you came to UCSD. So as long as everything is on that application, is on your UCSD academic history, then the UCSD stuff is fine. And then lastly, we need the name and email addresses of 2 recommenders. We don't require letters of recommendations, but the recommenders have to go in and give their recommendations online. So it is a set of questions where they rank you and can fill in boxes to tell us more about you. And these references should be either academic references, so a teacher, professor, or someone that you've worked for. So in some cases, if you're in a huge class and you weren't really able to get super close with the professor of that class, if you worked with the tutor or the PhD student who might have been a TA in one of your classes and they know you well, and they know how your work ethic is, then they can also be one of your references. It should not be your friend. It definitely should not be your parent or your grandparent. It should be someone who can talk about your work ethic and academic skills, and also kind of know you're serious about the things that you've told us you're interested in your statement of purpose. And so this first bullet point is not necessarily a requirement, but we do highly recommend that you either meet with either Dr. Gilson or myself if you're interested about this program. You can definitely meet with us to talk about your eligibility in the program, talk about the application process and a little bit more individualized in the case by case of how this will fit into your academic plan. These are our emails. You can email either of us to make an appointment. I am also available through the VAC, through the International Studies Department, or through like drop-in advising as well. So it's not a requirement, but it's highly recommended that you meet with us. And then by the time you apply in your junior year, you should have all of your lower division requirements done. And then for the econ sequences, you should have substantial progress in that completed as well, along with your GE requirements and university requirements. Remember that we do want you to graduate with your bachelor's degree on time. So we want to make sure that you don't have to take 5 classes in your senior year in order to graduate with your bachelor's degree, while also taking your core GPS classes. So figuring out how to fit everything in early on is how you'll end up thriving in this program. And then for your major GPA, we do require you to have a 3.0, 3.4 or higher. So that's all of your upper division economics work. And then your cumulative GPA must be a 3.0 or higher. And so some of you might be wondering what kinds of career outcomes come out of having a master's in public policy. The public policy program in terms of careers is really flexible. You can read on this slide all of the different things that are on here that can start your process into maybe looking into what kind of career you might be interested in. But if you have no idea where to start, once you're admitted into the program, you will have access to our excellent career services team that will work with you on your job search. And so you are essentially limited to your own imagination on what kind of job you want to do. So it's nice to start to think about, what do you want to do? What is your ideal job? Or at least your first full-time job once you graduate from UCSD. So our careers team will work with you and help you think about how to focus your job search once you have a general idea. They'll talk to you about how you can sell yourself with your skills. They'll do mock interviews with you, and they'll introduce you to alumni around the world and so on. So their job is to make sure that you get real face time with people who are hiring in the area and networking so that you can get to where you want to work. And then, yeah, like I mentioned, we do have an excellent career services team. This is for GPS specific, so they're separate from the central campus career services. And this slide tells you a great deal about what they do. So in between your senior year and your graduate year, in that summer, you'll be required to have an internship. That's not specific to BA MPPs, that's required for all of our students in all of the programs. And so career services helps you find that internship. And if need be, they also help fund any traveling or housing for an internship if you would like to go somewhere abroad or even just across the country. So if you want to work, for example, on climate issues in Asia, or you want to work in Europe for a multilateral, they will help you find an internship in where you're trying to go and help fund it so that you're actually able to do the internship that you want to do. So again, like the career options, internship opportunities are limited by your own imagination. The careers team, they will start by asking, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And we have a lot of students who do all sorts of internships and have gone all over the world to do those. So you have an opportunity to go all sorts of places around the world in between that senior year and graduate year in the program. So career services also does a lot of outreach events. So if you are trying to figure out what you want to do and where you want to go, they do take groups of students to LA, San Francisco, New York, DC, for those of you who are interested in going there. I know they weren't able to do these trips last year because of COVID and whatnot, but they are definitely trying to do them this year, and I'm sure they will continue doing them in the years to come. So highly recommend on getting on that if that's something you're interested in. And they also do a number of events every year that put you in touch with alumni around the world, GPS alumni. And that is how a lot of our students get jobs, through those alumni. So GPS alumni is a very important network that a lot of them come back for events and help set up interviews for you. And career services tries to get as many as they can so that the alumni can start working with you early on. And if that's something that you're interested in, that alumni is currently working for, then they can help set up that network for you. So GPS Careers is an incredible resource for all of you who are in the joint degree programs. And so we know it's very difficult to get this level of help through the central campus career services because they're more oriented on the STEM side and engineering side of careers. So GPS Career Services really makes up for that deficit for those of you in our joint degree programs. And so we're almost done. This page is how you can get connected with many of our GPS social medias. I'm sure you're all very well versed in Instagram, so you can go to the general GPS Instagram page as well as the GPS Career Services page. On there, you'll be able to see what kinds of events are put on by GPS and other opportunities that are being offered. Those tend to be relatively up to date. So those are great pages to follow if you're already on Instagram. We do also have a Facebook page. I don't know how many of you still use Facebook, but we have a Facebook page that you can also look at those events and same things as well. And then LinkedIn. This is a great platform. If you don't have a LinkedIn already, I highly recommend making one. But you can check out the GPS LinkedIn page, as it is a good page for you to get an insight on what kinds of talks are given at GPS by GPS faculty or alumni. We have workshops, we have papers that GPS faculty are publishing, so you can go and look at those. So you can have a general idea of what the faculty here at GPS are doing research on, and then you can also see who you might want to work with, whether you do independent studies or if you want to work as a researcher for one of the faculty as well. There's also updates on what our GPS students are doing and what jobs they've managed to secure. So you can go ahead and look through those. And I recommend scrolling through those as well. So you can get to know some of the students that are already here, who have gone here, and then you can also get to know what things are going on at GPS. And then lastly, once again, this is where you can find both me and Nancy to make appointments. If you'd like to meet with me, like I already mentioned, I'm available during ISP drop-in hours. If you put the reason for meeting as BA MIA, I know we're BA MPPs, but I think there might be a BA MPPs option. If not, one of those, and I'll be able to meet with you, or you can email me personally. And then if you'd like to meet with Nancy, you can email her directly too. If you do, please send her some different days and times to schedule an appointment to see what aligns in her calendar. She's very busy as she's been running this program for over 11 years now, but she is always happy to talk to BA MPP prospective students. And so she's a great person to talk to. She knows the curriculum and the program very well for GPS. So yes, if you want to meet with her, please send her different days and times, and she will get back to you on what fits in her schedule. And then also, if you have any questions about your economics major requirements, send a message to your econ advisors through the VAC. And then this is the end of my presentations. Thank you all for coming. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. It is almost the weekend, so you can do it. And with that, have a good one.